To visit him at his flagship instructional facility, Rick Smith Golf Performance Center, located in Miami, Florida.
I'll never forget, I was 14 years old. It was the Ryder Cup back at Laurel Valley in Pennsylvania. And I'll never forget, just as a young player, opening up magazines, looking at different swings and studying every swing that I thought existed in mankind. And it was interesting because as a player, I knew that there were so many ways to hit the ball, but I'll never forget, it was wet, and the Ryder Cup was going on. Back then, they used to have 36 holes in one day of singles matches. Jack is paired against Brian Barnes, who had the big pipe. He used to put it on the ground. It almost looked like an intermediate target. It was pretty funny, actually. I'm going, is that cheating? Are you allowed to do that? So basically, though, I'll never forget, they left the range. Jack was the last one to leave. It was the last match. As they all go off to the first tee, I go and stand in Jack's footprints. And as I put my feet down, all of a sudden I sunk about this far.
You just dug a trench like a baseball hitter, like in the batting box.
Yeah, and I'm going, there's something more to this. You know, so then that made me very inquisitive of where he was getting the speed, how he was getting the speed. We hear ground up all the time.
Sure.
We don't hear that there's two forces. Where the mass is moving downward, and then you use the ground, right? So to demonstrate to me, and we've been fortunate to have Kyle Berkshire and Justin Moose, and we've gotten so much data with our gears and all this with all the players that it's been helpful to actually be able to measure what they do.
Okay.
And you know as well as I do, because you're in the distance, you've been helping a lot of people with that as well. The one thing that we find is understanding the forces left and right. Okay. You're moving in both directions, and you see people start to get a feeling for the ground, which is obviously their feet, the only connection to the ground, hands to the club. So you see these movements this way, right? Waggle is fairly large. You start to see their mass, and these guys are giant. The long drive guys are giant. Yep. But even the little guys, how are they getting this speed? If you're physically capable of getting it, you see how the mass is loading up into the back foot. So I use the analogy of if I weigh 200 pounds and I load up, yes, I want to get 90% of my weight loaded into this glute, right side, and I feel back and I feel a little up. It gives me the chance to now feel in my transition as I move right to left, 70% left, I topple the upper. Okay. And then I feel like I weigh 450 pounds. Now I use the ground.
And that's digging the trench like Jack did.
That's the trench. And Jack used to get wide with his arc, which was amazing how the width created the turn, then raising of the heel. And you look at the 60s, late 60s pitchers, wide, heel, big turn. Grout used to get his hands up, right arm was away from the body.
Yep.
And as he went down, he planted and buried that foot.
Awesome.
And then he jumped, posted up, extended with all the force of the club, and the club went flying.
Yep. And you look so sort of wound in transition as you do that move. And you've showed me a really interesting drill where you use kind of a wall and you sort of use your arms to feel that stretch.
You get set up. Here's your posture. Posture's critical. You've got to activate the glutes by not sitting, not by way out on the toes, but you feel like you're bending at the hip joints, knees slightly flexed. I feel like a burn right here. Okay, and I feel like my back pockets are up and out. It makes me feel more dynamic before I hit it. I like to do this mini where my palms feel down and I'm putting a little pressure this way to feel the arc and to feel the dynamic of the arms working with the body. Because a lot of people go after it and they're out of sequence and they hit it off the planet. So long and straight is a nice combination. Yeah. So I put my arms this way. I take my lead arm this way, and I cross it, and I extend it on an X, kind of an X. I go here, my right side goes back, and almost my fingers are touching a wall behind me. I feel like I've totally opened up.
You can do that against the wall.
Oh, yeah, and you can touch it and reach back as far as you can, and you've opened up areas of your body you haven't felt before.
Right.
You know, it's always been, oh, get the left shoulder behind the ball. It won't go if you don't have room for it to go.
Yeah.
So as you go this way, you now feel your mass loaded up into the glute, rear glute. And as I move this way, I feel a little down as I go forward, but notice how I haven't snapped this yet.
Yes.
A lot of people just do this.
Yes.
So I kind of hold it, but I'm bumping, and then now I take my lead arm and I let it go around the body. I let the right arm get long this way, boom, and I feel that explosive opening and movement that way.
Awesome.
That drill is unbelievable.
Sort of this resettling and almost increasing that stretch as you start down. Would you ever blend maybe a little bit of I've seen you do like little step motions as well. Would you blend that in with that?
Of all the data, of all the time that I've seen, the step drill in a miniature fashion with this little caveat is this. So you move this way, heel can come off the ground a little bit. Notice how this foot started open?
Yep.
Every guy I see that can nail it. You look at Rory, you look at Jack.
Yep.
Kyle Berkshire did 50 billion miles.
Yep.
This foot actually turns in.
Yep.
The knee is now something that I feel like I can now jump, and if I raise and I come up, I come up.
Yeah. That's where you see the foot float sometimes. Like
I don't see this.
Yeah.
It's a way to get there, but the long guys, when they go here and they plant, now they've got like this wall that's compressed, and they jump and they climb from that.
Yep.
So not only is it pressure there, but it's not giving way that early. That's wasting energy.
Can I switch with you and try this out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I want to feel this.
Please.
Okay, so you had your hands.
I put my